Hello. Quick question. Do you want to find the best sites that meet your needs? If so, please keep watching to see an example of how Urban Intelligence located the 50 best sites from a list of over 150,000 possible sites. My name is Joe Welch and I'm a Chartered Surveyor and Chartered Town Planner. I first started site finding in 2007, and in that time I've acted for a range of landowners and purchasers, and I'm very excited to tell you today that things have moved on substantially since those times of using paper maps or driving around looking for sites, then sitting in your local land reg office waiting for your appointment to buy land reg titles. Now, whilst this video is specific to what we call micro site finding and it's looking for residential development land, we work in a range of other services across all asset classes and deliver those services for various public and private sector clients. I'll try to create some videos for these other services and sectors in due course. I'll also hopefully get some time to talk more about technology and data in real estate more widely. But without further ado, here is our client problem that we'll focus on for this video. The client problem can be summarised simply as a land buyer seeking more good land opportunities. But when we broke this down with clients, it was typically made up of the following parts. There's never enough good sites to review. The initial plan-up site finding exercise is resource consuming. It takes anywhere from 3 to 6 weeks of time to properly review a single district. They often miss sites as screening is not uniform across the business. They're unable to measure the difference between sites quickly in a quantified way. There is a preference for off-market deals. Competition for sites has increased hugely over the last few years. There's a frustration over hidden issues on sites uncovered after the site is identified. So, more good land opportunities really isn't a single problem. It's actually an amalgamation of smaller interconnected problems. In order to provide a client solution, we developed a bespoke site search algorithm called SiteScore to find sites that fit the client's perfect site criteria. We do this by combining big data analytics and geospatial science to write an algorithm bespoke to the client's needs. We then work hard to calibrate the algorithm with the client in an iterative process to ensure that it's delivering what's required. So how does it work? Well, here's a worked example from a randomly chosen district in Middle England. And bonus points if you can name that district in the comments section. Within a client workshop, we agree what the perfect site looks like. And from there, we can work backwards to find sites that fit that criteria. Now, we do this by looking at a range of factors and provide bespoke scoring and weighting for each factor in turn. The list of factors we can search by are in the hundreds and range from open source data to our own digitised version of the UK planning system. At our last count, we had something like 500 unique reference points for each land title in the UK. That's something like 15 billion data points to search against. In this first instance, we've begun with all land registry parcels, shown here in yellow. These sites add up to 151,955 parcels in total. You can see some areas are shown in white, and this is unregistered land. In this instance, we've excluded unregistered land from the search. The next step is to clean the data by consolidating multiple parcel titles into single polygons so that it's easier to search. So this leaves us with 128,329 sites to review. Next, we filtered out all sites which didn't meet the client's sales value levels, which in this instance was anything less than £320 per square foot. So this left 113,249 sites, which suggests that much of the district is capable of hitting these minimum sales values that the client set out. We then reviewed the constraints, such as functional sites, employment allocations, heritage, flood zones, nature reserves, forests and woodland, green wedge, open green space, and areas of outstanding natural beauty, which you can see in the various colours shown here. We then filtered the sites to remove any sites or parts of sites that had these constraints, as can be seen here. You can see many more excluded areas shown in white. This left us with 109,270 sites, as shown in yellow. Next, we looked at the green belt, which can be seen here, shown in green. To give you a better idea of how this looks with the context of the remaining sites, we've brought the hidden remaining sites back in on this image. Now, without going into too much detail on the nuances as to why, we've removed all sites that are within the green belt that do not have any form of previous development on them. So it's not what we'd call a hard exclusion, although some of our clients do treat the green belt as a hard exclusion. And so after removing the greenbelt sites with no previous development on them, we're left with 106,019 sites. Our next filter is based on size, and here we have filtered out any sites that are less than 4 acres in size, which is the minimum our client requires. So within this, we are also able to assemble a number of land titles to get to a total 4-acre assembled site size. So if there are sites that are not excluded by this point, but are adjacent to each other and with road access, we have assembled up to a maximum of 4 land titles to create our assembled site, which must be at least 4 acres in size. Obviously, the ability to assemble land titles to create a minimum site size can lead to huge amounts of site permutations, but over the years we've developed ways to prevent this, and needless duplications of different site assemblies are removed from the results. Also, at this point, there is no site size maximum, as we've presumed our client will be able to purchase only the land that they require. This has the massive impact of filtering our list of 106,019 sites down to 1,295. Our next filter is based on what our clients often refer to as the human eyeball test, which is to say they often just look at a site and, quote, know it won't work. Well, what this really means is that it needs to be a certain depth and width without huge internal level changes in order to accommodate development without the need for elaborate master plans or extensive cut and fill groundworks. So we do that next, and this removes all the access strips and odd bits of land, leaving 1,100 sites. Now this 1,100 sites is what we'd call the long list of sites. What you can see here are the 1,100 sites in pink, and within those sites the hatched areas are constraints, which means that whilst part of the site is considered undevelopable based on the client's criteria, enough of the site is considered developable to meet the perfect site criteria so as to be included. Up until now, what we've been doing is principally a filtering exercise, but here is where we can start to introduce ranking to get from our long list to our short list. On this image you can see the built-up areas. Depending on client wishes, we can use those as per the adopted settlement boundaries policy from our own digitised version of the UK planning system, or just general built-up areas as defined by census data. What you see here are the built-up areas hatched in turquoise blue, with rings around them, enabling us to rank the sites based on whether they are partially or fully inside the built-up area, or within 100 metres, or 100 to 200 metres away, or 200 to 400 metres outside of the built-up area. Now here you can see the long list of sites overlaid with the built-up areas. And here you can see the same long list sites as before, but with the benefit of the built-up areas and the scoring methodology. So they are now able to be colour-coded to reflect their proximity to the built-up area itself. As well as proximity to the built-up area, we are also scoring a range of other factors, including whether the site already has planning permission, whether the site is already allocated in any local plan or neighbourhood plan for housing or employment, how many land titles are required to be assembled, what the owner typology is, what local services are available nearby, what are the travel times to key services and the public transport network, what are the local planning constraints there might be, whether there is nearby listed buildings or conservation areas, what the level of existing development on site is, what the road access type is classified as, what the noise or air pollution levels are, what the chance of ransom is, and whether the site is already under option to another party. Here you can see the darker the site, the higher it scores. We then continued to iterate the algorithm to shorten the long list down. The exclusion of sites further than 400 metres from the built-up area reduced the long list to 833 sites. Then lowering the exclusion distance down to a maximum of 200 metres from the built-up area reduced the long list down to 673 sites. From here we can make the final cut to create the shortlist. And here we have the final shortlist of sites. These are, based on the client's perfect site search criteria, the best 50 sites in this district. Now, for a search of this nature for short to medium term residential land, we typically advise our clients to target a shortlist of about 20 to 30 sites. There's a range of reasons why, but the key one from our perspective is accuracy. By self-defining the criteria of what the perfect site is, and then seeing categorically how many sites there are that meet their unique criteria, There is no need for a spray and pray type letter writing campaign. Referring back to the client problem, specifically around competition for sites, it's never been easier for people to find landowner details and write generic expression of interest letters. And I know from personal experience that the number of unsolicited letters sent to landowners has gone up from the odd one 10 years ago to a regular occurrence now, and they often start with a generic reference to the local plan position or a recent appeal decision. I consider that using bespoke site finding can really differentiate our client's initial approach and help them set the narrative to the landowner. Given the levels of due diligence that's front-loaded on the site, and the fact our clients know every other site in the district and how it compares, enables them to be much more bullish with their first approach and differentiate themselves. So, rather than a generic expression of interest letter, it can include a detailed overview of why they like the site, and on that specific basis, what their draft heads of terms are, with a convincing narrative on how they will promote the site. Here's an overview of the key benefits. Clients can review every single land parcel regardless of size. This can include unregistered land. As a time saving over traditional methods, we only require hours of client input, not days or weeks. Short delivery times. We take days or weeks to review entire districts, not months. Ability to scale and roll over the algorithm to new areas, and we can finesse the algorithm as business needs change. Increased accuracy. There's no space for human error. What you ask for is what you get. Specify the search for off-market deals only. We can avoid to seek the listed sites. Transparent process. We offer a well-documented methodology and criteria for whole business buy-in. Front-load the due diligence. We review billions of data points to avoid expensive abortive costs later down the line. Incentivize consultant. We typically structure proposals so that we only win big when the client wins big by securing a site and then getting planning permission. Exclusivity. If you search a certain area for a certain asset class, we won't look in that area for another client for an agreed period of time. At Urban Intelligence, we believe that we are just at the beginning of how we can use technology to help our clients work smarter, not harder. By digitizing the repetitive and time-intensive part of the process, we enable land buyers to focus on the other equally important part of site finding, which is agreeing the most advantageous commercial terms. It's our combination of real estate experts, geospatial and data science experts, and our software engineers that allow us to provide this unique service to our clients. I hope you found this video interesting. I'll hopefully be making more soon around our other sectors and service lines that we work in. Thanks for listening, and if you've got any real estate search requirements, please get in touch using the following details.